Okay, let's get started on this. Now look. Okay. I'm not an expert at this, so if anybody is more of an expert at me than this and wants to correct me on something, please absolutely feel free. I've used them before. Every time I stop using them for a few weeks, I forget something, but I think we can at least do, and I'm going to provide you guys with what I think is the best tutorial on this in the digest. So if this doesn't work for you to give you enough information to pick it up and start playing with it, you'll be able to go to that tutorial. Okay, something you guys don't have to do, but let me just demonstrate it to you. These come, I think every case has one of the smaller batteries, which is in each of these cameras now. Let's do a favor, let me just take it down just a bit further. It's also going to come with a larger battery bank. Now, this is designed to fit on the bottom of the camera, and then this fits onto the tripod. So there should be, if you've got this battery in there at all, and I know we're not using them, I just want to show you real quick. Since one of our questions is going to be about power. And this is a pain in the neck if you don't have a screwdriver. Right. So this plate goes into the bottom of the camera. Oh my God! Was that
one time?
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Crazy.
Well, you just have it.
What?
Yeah.
Is there
someone in that?
Yeah. Is it murder?
Okay, so this little adapter here, adapter plate, whatever we want to call it, screws into the bottom of the camera, and then it slides into place and clicks. All right. Now you can put the plate on here and put this on the tripod, and you'll have a lot longer battery power. There is a connector here that goes into the output of the battery. You can just kind of decide on your own. And then on the side of the camera, you will see it's got a 12-volt connector, which this is going to connect into. Be very careful. It's a little, some of them are a little finicky. Oh, that one went in just perfectly, so no problem with that one. Okay. All right. So again, if those aren't available to you, at least it's a demonstration. Okay. So I'm torn between the idea of going through the camera report and going through the menu, but I think I'd rather do this in a structured way with the camera report. Let me pull up the specs here. Somewhere.
How much percent is it?
All right. So we know the model number here, and we're doing these together, guys, so don't worry about doing it on your own. The model number here is the Blackmagic 6K. The official title is Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K. Okay. Again, each group turn in one of these with your names. I'll know you did this. And I've got the manual up here if we need to access it. Now we're looking at recording systems. To look at the recording systems this camera has, we're going to want to access the menu. And the easiest way to access the menu from here, there is a button with 3 lines. If you push that, you will now get... Sorry. Hey, move this a little closer. Oh, this is really going to work well. We're trying to do this backwards. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I think I need a soundboard of just Richard's sound effects. Yeah.
Okay. So we have two broad categories of recording systems, and they're at the top of this menu. One is Blackmagic RAW, and one is ProRes. There is very little compression to Blackmagic RAW. There's a little bit of compression to ProRes. Now, these have advantages and disadvantages. You can't just import Blackmagic RAW footage into Premiere. You have to download the plugin. It is free from Blackmagic, but Premiere will not recognize this footage. I'm also actually been told, I don't know who told me this, and I haven't had a chance to check it yet, that the Blackmagic app on the iPhone, you also can't use that footage without the plugin. I need to check and see if that's the case. ProRes is going to work in pretty much any system you try to import it in. So let's look at our options here under Blackmagic RAW. We have got constant bitrate. That means that the bitrate is not going to change. How much information, how much data is going from the sensor and trying to be recorded onto the media is going to be constant. We have got constant quality, which is going to adjust the bitrate based on what is in front of the camera. With constant bitrate, you can calculate and predict how big your files are going to be, if you want to do the math. With constant quality, you won't know, but you may be saving a lot of information. If you're shooting a YouTube video with a Blackmagic camera, if I'm shooting a shot of you, right, and you're not doing much movement, right, it's just going to repeat all this information that's around you. If you don't move, it doesn't repeat the information. The information's already there. If something is constantly moving, it has to constantly recreate that information and record that information. So it can adjust itself. If the camera's not moving, the subject's not moving, it can kind of lower the bit rate a little bit and save you a little bit of space. With constant bit rate, let's go back to constant bit rate. We have these ratios, and the document here will give you an idea of what those ratios are. And you can see how many megabytes per second you get at 6K, at 4K, at other resolutions, right? So let's just look at the 6K part. 3:1 will give you 323 megabytes a second, 5:1, 194, 8:1, 121, and 12:1, 81. So the most information is going to be 3:1. Maybe way more information than you need, right? We know that if we're shooting, let's see, if we're shooting 6K, where is that in here? Thought I had the number of, hold on. It's here somewhere, it's here somewhere. My recommendation on this would go 8:1. But again, if you're doing an enormous amount of post-processing, you might want to try to get a little more data in there. And you can play around with those and see if you can, you're not going to be able to tell any difference to the naked eye. That's certainly true. If you go with constant quality, you have levels of quality. And the highest level of quality, as I remember it, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, is 0. And it gets lesser quality as you go up to the numbers. I'm pretty sure that's correct. So again, probably 0 or 1 are going to be fine there. I'm going to set it on constant bit rate and stay at 8:1, just so it's a little bit predictable. So that's in Blackmagic RAW. I need to put a lens on this camera. Do we have a 50 by any chance?
There's that far one right there.
Okay. There we go. Got it. Thank you for jumping up. That was great.
No notes.
Good job. Good job. Good job. Okay, let me. We're going to need to look at a couple of things here in a second. So let me. Okay. Go back. All right. So one of the things I do want to show you, we've got a lot of different resolutions that we can pick with each of these, and it's different It's a different variety of resolutions depending on whether you go with Blackmagic Raw or whether you go with ProRes. With Blackmagic Raw, we do have 6K. I'm going to clear out of my menu for a minute so that you guys can see. Let's go over here. No, let's go there. That's fine. We'll go right there. So that you guys can see. Do we have 180, 24? ND, there is ND in here.
Yeah.
Let's take the ND out. All right. So what I want you to look at right now is what we refer to as the area of view or the field of view, right? How much of the world we're seeing in front of this camera, right? So kind of lock that in your head for a second. We're going to go back to the menu and we're going to go down to 4K. And when we do that, it's one of the things that bothers me about the camera, actually, a little bit, because I want to use the full sensor. So what happens is you've got a 6K sensor, right? To shoot 4K, it crops the sensor and only uses a section in the middle, right? That also crops your image. So if we go back to the menu and we go down and decide to do 2.8K, it's cropped it even more. So your decision on resolution actually impacts your field of view. That can, to me, it makes me want to shoot 6K, but I want to shoot 6K like I want a hole in the head because I don't want to deal with those files. Yeah. Now let's look at ProRes. If we select ProRes instead, we've got a series of qualities here. High quality is the highest quality, so let's say we're going to stay with high quality. Let me see if does this change anything? I don't think it does. We certainly don't want proxy. Okay. One of the things, and why? Wait a second. I thought you could shoot ProRes at 6K on this camera. Am I wrong about that? There's no card in here, so it shouldn't be worried about that. Okay, well, can everybody else check and see if you select ProRes high quality, do you have any other?
No 6K.
No 6K?
No 6K.
All right,
Some
okay.
options is
So let's look at 4K.
Owen, do you want
That
to
is the,
lenses on these?
sorry?
Do you want us to go ahead and have lenses on these? Or do you-
I mean, if you want to, you can see a little more if you want to. Yeah, go ahead, you can go ahead and do that, guys. I'm sorry, I got ahead of you on that. What you're seeing here is that 4K in ProRes is using the entire sensor. So we're back to the field of view that 6K was giving us. So it might be a field of view is an important option for you. ProRes might be something to consider, right? As well, if we go to Ultra HD, we have the same area of view.
That was right.
In ProRes, you don't crop the sensor. It basically spreads it out to cover the entire sensor. So you don't have a field of view issue in selecting resolution in ProRes. That being said, I'm going to leave it in Blackmagic. I'm going to leave it at constant bit rate, and I'm going to leave it at 8:1 for now as we go forward. So that gives us a good idea of what our recording systems are, right? We've got basically Blackmagic Raw and we've got ProRes. We also looked at the recording resolutions. That's question number 4. Don't pay attention to set your camera to. We're not going to worry about that. We also looked at bit rates. We've got that here. 4K generally needs 35 to 45 megabytes per second. 2K needs at least 16. 1080 needs at least 8. You definitely want to be a little higher than that for each of those resolutions. Okay. All right. So that's page 1. We just did it.
Give me a pencil.
All right. What I want to do now, I think, because I think it's going to be easier for us to follow, is I just want to go through the record menus. Is everybody up to speed with us now? So over on the right, am I on screen?
Yes.
Am I in focus?
No. And a bit hot. This is the white's a bit hot.
Yeah. There we go. All right. There are little arrows on the side which will allow you to cycle through the different record menus. So the next record menu is going to give you an option for dynamic range. The bigger the dynamic range, the larger your file size would be. That's always going to be the trade-off, is larger file size, better quality. You're always going to want to shoot film. You want as much dynamic range as you can possibly get. Over here, you also have the sensor area thing that you cannot adjust in Blackmagic Raw. You can't tell it what part of the sensor you want it to use. If I go back, which I will, and just go to ProRes for a minute, then I can tell it, and what it's set to is 6K, which means that's why it's scaling out. That's why I'm seeing the entire field of view. If I change this down to just use, can I go that far? Oh, that's all I can do anyway. Those are the only options, so never mind. All right, I'm going to go back to Blackmagic again. You have a project frame rate. Normally, we'd probably all shoot at 24 frames per second. That's one of our questions too. But you also have an off-speed frame rate, a second frame rate that you can set, and that you can, there's a button somewhere, I'll find the button. There's a button that you can push that will then shoot at that frame rate. So if you want to do slow motion, right, you can go up to, with our current settings, and again, it will change with the settings.
You have it at 2.8K?
No, that's just the sensor area, and it's grayed out.
I mean, would you have it at Blackmagic Raw? Or
I've got it Blackmagic Raw 6 right now.
Okay, I was just, okay.
Oh, no, I don't. I do have it at 10. Sorry. Why is it? Hold on. I'm going to leave it at 6K.
Okay.
Sorry, just realized that. Well, now, actually, this is a good point, right? Notice that at 6K, 50 frames per second is the highest frame rate. If I want to shoot more slow motion, I need to go back and I need to adjust. So let's go back to 4K and see what happens.
Your house be recording.
It's because you didn't, it
Hmm?
says
House
off.
No, I just tried it though, it's still
Thank
50.
you. Hold on.
It's still 50.
There
though.
we go.
Oh,
No.
what?
Well, let me check that because I had that turned off. I didn't realize it switched off. Okay.
We get 6K?
So at 6K, we can go up to, it is 50. Okay. These buttons. If we go back and do 4K,
Okay, so it is. I'm not sure.
oh, it's still 50.
No, it's 60.
60 is 60, thank you. Went by too fast. If we go back and do 2.8K, that's when we can start shooting at something like, I'm guessing it's going to go to 120.
Yippee. Can you set the button?
Hmm?
Can you set the buttons? Is it like you can like just choose to make it? To, like,
Yeah, well, you
this
can,
button?
well, we'll
set
see
the
this. You can put any, we'll see this in the menu. You can put any function to any of these particular
Oh.
buttons.
Okay.
The high frame rate button is right
So it does change.
here.
The
That will
HDR?
switch you to the higher
Okay,
frame
HDR.
rate.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense? Right.
60.
So I'm leaving it on 2.8 for now.
Sure.
Another one of our questions, obviously, is about media. And you can see that we have
9.94.
3 different options, really workable options for media. We have a CFast card, which is a larger card. I don't have one with me here, unfortunately. An SD card, which is what we normally use, and there's also a USB connection that you can send it out via USB to a recording device. Not the best idea. USB is incredibly slow. Here's our problem. If I decide I want to shoot 6K, that SD card is not an option. We don't have SD cards that will write that much information that fast onto a card. You're going to have to go to CFast. I do know some people have been able to use SD cards at 4K.
I've recorded directly onto my drive.
What drive? Which drive?
A drive.
Your hard drive?
They get
Yeah.
hard to.
Yeah. So, and that's, there's also an HDMI out. for this as well that will allow you to do that, which is, I don't think, one of our options down here. I think it defaults to that if you plug it in, if I remember correctly. So if you're trying to shoot pretty high resolutions, you may have to use, or just high bit rates, you may have to use a CFast. You'll get dropped frames. We'll see an option here in a few minutes to what to do when you get dropped frames. Basically, it's dropping frames because it can't write all that information fast enough to the card.
Onto an SD card or a CFast?
A SD card.
Okay.
A CFast should be plenty for 6K. Any settings in this camera, the CFast should do it.
Okay.
Okay. Time-lapse options, if you want to do that. Sharpening, which you should never do. You've got something down here, if the card starts dropping frames to alert or stop recording, you might as well stop recording because that file is not going to be of any use. You've also got apply LUT in file. So a LUT, short for lookup table, it's a series of settings that have to do with sharpness and color and brightness and contrast that you can apply in post-production usually to a piece of footage, right? You can also upload and apply LUTs in here. And what's interesting is, if we turn that on and we start applying LUTs, when you take this footage into Premiere Pro, you can toggle the LUT on and off. It's not writing the LUT onto the footage. You're not committing to that LUT. It might give you a starting place. It might be a way for other people to see the footage who don't understand it if you're shooting it at log. Thank you. See, this is what I told the cinema class today. I can tell you who wrote the score for the 1933 King Kong, and that's why I can't remember the rest of this shit. Okay. All right, so, and that completes the record options, okay? So that, let's see, where are we?
So you would, like if you were using this, would you use the LUT and apply it just to have it on?
I don't,
If you were having a certain vision, you would say.
here's when and why I would put the LUT on. I would put the LUT on if people are going to be seeing the footage before I can do anything to it.
Okay.
I might put the LUT on just, and you can make these decisions just to the monitor and not apply it to the file.
Okay.
But if people are going to be, if a DIT is going to be taking this footage and downloading it, and then people are going to be watching it to decide whether we're doing okay or not, I don't want it to look like log, right? So I might put it on for that.
Okay.
That to me would be the only reason to do
If I'm
it.
just doing it by myself.
Or if I think that I'm going to live with that LUT. Right, so if I've made those decisions in advance and I want to live with that LUT, I can just leave the LUT turned on, but I can toggle it off shot by shot if one of those shots doesn't work and I need to adjust it. So it might be a shortcut to color correction in post as well. Okay, let me go back here 1 second. Trying to see, our frame rate is going to be, where'd our frame rate go? Yeah, we saw our frame rate. I'm sorry, it was right there. I'm looking at the question. 7, usable media, we figured that out. Recording time, I'm not going to get into the calculations on that. The sensor size, that's something to keep in mind. This is a 35 millimeter full frame sensor. That is not the same as a 35 millimeter frame in a motion picture camera. It is, in fact, a little larger. That is a 35 millimeter frame as you would see it in a still camera, where the film goes horizontally instead of going vertically. Sensors don't get much larger than this for our uses. Obviously, there are IMAX sensors, and there are sensors that are larger than this, but that's pretty much the top of what we're probably going to be exposed to at any given time. So what does that mean? Well, that's giving us at 6K a particular area of view. The larger the sensor, marginally the better the low light quality will be, so it's going to give us a little bit of that. Interesting to know about this because all the Blackmagic cameras before the 6K, so you go in the cage and rent the 4K, for example, it's got what's called a micro 4/3 I want to say 3/4, a micro four thirds sensor, which is much, much smaller. It means your area of view is way smaller. Your low light capabilities are less, well, that's it. Those are the two.
Yeah.
Those are two big things. I want everything in threes, and it didn't work out that time. Okay, so now the camera has a screen, but not a viewfinder. But you can get it. But there's a place for it. You can purchase a viewfinder for this. The lens mount. So we just put a Canon lens on this camera. So it's got a Canon lens mount. Now, Blackmagics, just so you know, come in a variety of different mounts. I think you can get Blackmagics with PL mounts, which are the mounts for film cameras. So you can use those kind of vintage lenses. You can get it with the Sony mount. I don't know if you can get it with a Panasonic mount or not. It used to be that there was one mount for Blackmagic and you had to buy adapters. So once again, if you go check out the 4K Blackmagic, it's going to have an adapter on it that will allow you to put the Canon lens on it. We do not have any cameras that we will check out to you that will not use every lens that we have. All of our lenses, all of our cameras are compatible. With an asterisk that somewhere in the back there's some old Sonys, but they also have adapters in there for them. And they have their own lenses, and no one knows they're there and no one uses them. So,
Where? Which ones?
the Sony FS100s?
The NX100s?
FS.
FS. I've not seen the FS one.
Yeah, I think they're still in there somewhere. I was told they were still there somewhere. Pretty good cameras, actually.
Yes,
They're pretty good cameras. They
100s.
only shoot at 1080. That's
The
what.
NX ones are the camcorders that all the journalism students use.
Yeah. Okay. Does the camera have a built-in ND filter?
Yeah.
Yes, it does, and it's right above the screen, and we can just pop it. You can hear it, actually, if you listen. You can hear it going in. So it goes up to a ratio of 1 to 8. You can also set this, and we'll see this in the menu later, you can set this to be stops, which I particularly prefer.
6.
Everybody see it?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to take it out for now. That's probably somewhere in the setup menu. We'll look at that in a minute. Color temperature.
Oh, careful.
So when we're in this screen, we can start to select things. Right now, frames per second, we can see it up there. We've got 120 as our high frame rate and 24 as our standard frame rate. We've got shutter, which is set to angle. I'll show you in a few minutes how you can set that to speed if you're more comfortable with speed. Honestly, I would always set a camera to 180 degree shutter speed. That is going to emulate what a film camera does better than anything else. And it's going to give you the results of that formula where if you're shooting 24 frames a second, you double it and put a 1 over it, and it's 1/48th of a second, it's going to be half the amount of time you're recording the image is going to be spent with the shutter open. On mine, the iris, this lens will not talk to this camera, so I cannot control the iris from this camera. Some of you probably have lenses on yours where you can. We can go over.
This one does.
Hmm?
This one does.
Yeah. So you've got one of those lenses. I've got one of these.
When I press on it, it says I have 3 options.
Okay.
Iris plus shutter, shutter plus iris. What's the difference?
So I believe that is a way.
It's auto exposure.
Yes, that is a way of prioritizing one over another in autofocus.
Yeah, I just
So you
realized.
can tell the camera that if it's auto exposing, you can tell it that f-stop is more important than shutter, or you can tell it shutter is more important than f-stop.
Yeah, I just turned it off and it just went back to normal. setting.
Yeah, there you go. Over in ISO, we can see that we can go down to 200 and we can go up to 25,600. Now this camera, this one's interesting because this camera has a dual native ISO. This sensor is designed to have 2 native ISOs where it will function best at 2 settings, not just at 1. And my memory is that the first one is 320, but let me see if I see it very quickly in the specs. No, 400. So one native ISO is 400. So if you set it at 400, you're getting the best result you can get from this sensor. But the other, and you can kind of watch it get noisy as we go up, and then suddenly we're going to hit 3200. It's going to be bright, but the noise is going to drop out a little bit. Right? So we can also be confident in the quality that we will get out of 3200 on this camera.
So it's,
You know, that feature that we shot over the, was it last summer? Almost the entire thing was shot on a Blackmagic at 3200. Yeah, so you go up from that, you're going to start adding noise. You go down from that, you're going to cross a threshold. I don't remember where the threshold is, and you're going to switch to the other native ISO, and suddenly it's going to look worse again. So there's an area between 400 and 3200 where it looks like crap. Right? So you have to kind of be aware of that as you're looking at it. Okay, we have got color temperature range up here. First of all, we notice we've got presets. Right, so sunlight is a preset to 5600. We're going to be going all over color temperature in lighting when we come back from spring break. But just be aware that different types of light have different colors, and those colors are actually measured in temperatures Kelvin. So sunlight is going to be around 5600 degrees Kelvin. If you know you're shooting in sunlight, you can just pop on that and not worry about it. Tungsten light, old style tungsten lights, are going to be around 3200, so I can pop that on. If I want to do fluorescence, it's around 4000. If I'm in shade, is that shade? Yeah, that's shade. 4500, or clouds, 6500. So I can use those presets, right? And I think, hold on, I just lost it. Hold on. I cannot remember. So auto white balance, obviously. Update the white balance, and now we're on auto white balance. It's balanced it to 2500K because we got, I don't know why, but probably because of what's in front of the camera more than anything else. And color CWB, I honestly don't remember what that is, but you can obviously also just set.
I think that's custom light balance, like you can have presets.
Oh, you're right. I think that's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Let's push it and see what happens.
Yeah,
That's preset.
Yeah. And I think the 1 or 2 or 3 is like the preset.
Yeah, because this really ought to be more, to get a decent skin tone, that ought to be more around 4000. So I'm not sure if that is automatic white balance. That might mean something else. And I'll apologize, I'm not 100% sure on that. All right, you've got your battery power up here, and you've got another way to access the menu. So we got our color temperature. That's question 13.
What was the highest it could go again?
It was, now I forgot. Hold on.
The ISO.
No,
It was ISO.
The ISO or the white balance?
White balance.
Well, I mean color temperature. The color temperature goes up to 10,000. Don't remember what that is. Okay. We talked about the presets. ISO or gain. Let's just go back into the menus now. Let's take a quick look at the monitor settings. You have the ability to have separate and distinct settings for this LCD,
Yes.
for a monitor that sets up with HDMI, or for a viewfinder that you might attach to the camera. And you have all of these things you can do. You can have a clean feed, meaning there's nothing visible on screen. You can display you can display your LUT. Okay? Hold on, I think I hit the wrong thing. Hold on, I did hit the wrong thing. Where'd it go?
I think if you press another arrow to the right, maybe.
That's it. That's where it was. Wait a second. There it is. I should be able to turn on a LUT. Yep. I can turn on Zebra, which is, and you can calibrate Zebra, which will show you areas of the image that are going into the white. You can turn on focus assist. It won't work with this because this camera and that lens can't communicate. You can put up a frame guide, a grid, a safe area, and you can even put up false color. And if you put all that stuff up, it looks like this.
That's cool.
Okay. We can look at false color in a little more detail. False color is another way of calibrating exposure. So if you look over here at this chart on the left side, it's basically going to tell you what things are going and are underexposed and are too dark, and which things are going bright and are too bright, and will kind of give you in the mid-range what's in a proper exposure, what's properly exposed. I think I can turn that off with a function button, maybe? Yeah, I can turn that off there. So we have, right now we are set to, it looks like 2.39 or 2.4 to 1. It's going to give you guidelines for any kind of aspect ratio that you want to shoot. It's still going to record the full image, but at least it'll give you something on the monitor or on the LCD that will tell you what's in your frame and what's out of your frame. There's also what's called title safe. When you show your videos, when you put your videos up on YouTube or Vimeo and someone watches them on a television, it overscans. All televisions do that. So it blows it up just a little bit. The edges of your image will not show up on that TV. And this has been established back when TV was first invented. There's an area that if you put your titles in, you know that the TV will not cut them off. And that's what the safe area guide is giving you. If we go back into this menu.
Can you change the frame guide? Like,
Yeah.
so-
Yeah, and I think it's further down. I'm going to leave the frame guide on. It says the grid is on, but I'm not seeing the grid. Maybe if we take that off, we'll see it. No. No? All right, something's weird's up with the grid. Yeah, I'll show you how to reset that. Also, we should be able to see zebra, but I'm not seeing it.
That's weird.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Something weird's going on here. We might be able to identify what's going on as we go further into the menu. If I turn the LUT off, you can see we now have log, right? Which looks crappy, but gives you all the information you need to really do extensive color correction. If we turn that LUT back on, there's a place where you select your LUT too. Oops. It's applied series of colors. All right, let's see if we can find. So HDMI, all the same decisions. Viewfinder, all the same decisions. Let's go back to LCD. We don't have anything else. So you can decide whether you've got meters displaying here right now. So I've got the audio meters down here, and I've got the exposure meter down here. If I would rather have an indication of what I'm shooting at, I can have the codec and the resolution down here on screen. So I can pick which one of those I want to use. You also have the ability to shoot and squeeze your image in, which is called anamorphic, right? So if you want to do wide screen, you can squeeze the image in on the camera, and then on this monitor, I can unsqueeze it. Right? And then you have to also unsqueeze it in post-production. That's what's happening down here with this anamorphic de-squeeze. Never heard the phrase de-squeeze before, I don't think.
Well, that's I'm not sure that one's real.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know why I'm not getting all of these? Because you guys should be able to get some of this stuff. You should be able to see zebra, for example. I can't see any of this because this lens and this camera won't talk to each other. So that's probably what the problem is going on there. You've got focus assist. You can pick the color, right? So whatever's outlined in that color will be in focus. You can pick your level of zebra. 95 is a really good one. And you can either do colored lines or you can do peaking on focus assist. I can't show you that because I don't think that's going to work with this lens. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Next time I'll put a different lens on the camera.
What is it again? The peaking?
Hold on, let's just put the Sigma on here real quick. I think that
Like how
Yeah. Hold on. Give me 1 second, guys. Play around.
Okay, like zebra.
Focus, yeah. Same thing.
Are you guys getting zebra?
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm going to get it here in a second too. I'm getting ready to change lenses.
I'm not.
You're not?
I'm not. You can change the frame guide. Like 4x3 or 1
Yeah, I'm not getting it either. So let's go back. All right, because I turn, okay, zebra's on. I'm going to turn the LUT off. I'm going to turn the grid off, frame guide. I'm going to turn everything else off and see if that makes any difference.
Turn it off.
Yeah, I'm not getting the zebra at all. I'm not sure why. Who has the zebra?
Stripes.
I don't think anyone.
No one has it? Okay, let's get a little further into the menu and see if we find something that'll correct that for us. It's certainly not this because we've got it turned up to a reason. I'm also not getting my focus assist either, which I should be getting.
Yeah.
Because there was
So let's see if we can figure that out here in a minute. Here's where you can, in the next menu, here's where you can change your frame guide. 2.4 to 1, 4 to 5, 1 to 1. So, 1 to 1 would be, do I still have it on? I turned it off. Hold on, let me turn it back on.
If I Google it, it doesn't come up as a common issue, so it's definitely just us.
Well, there's some setting in here somewhere. We're going to find it. So,
Well, I wasn't sure if there was a update.
yeah. So there you go. Right?
Also changed the
There's your
opacity.
1 to 1.
Some of the settings, I think, conflict each other. Like, you can't see zebra.
If you've got something else turned on. I tried turning everything off on mine, and I still wasn't getting it.
Well, how'd you do,
I'm seeing
how'd you
it,
do it on
like,
there?
just barely right now. I turned off the safe area guide. I still
What
have-
is your percentage on zebra level set to?
100%. I think I put it on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I'm just-
Okay.
I'm seeing just like a little line of it pop up.
Oh, that's interesting.
Where
Not the
you
full,
see
but
that?
not the full thing.
I'm not getting anything.
So,
Because it's what that's what it is the specific direction. So you're not going to be able to see it. Well, it's not really, I think it's related to focus more than it is ISO.
Yeah, and I'm not getting the focus assist either, although I may have gotten out of that.
You can see it here.
That hurt my head so much.
You see the red?
Oh,
yeah,
it's red.
That's what it is. It's about your focus. From
Well,
What I
that's
understand.
focus. He's talking about zebra.
but that's
the white.
so gray.
what it is.
You're so great.
Dang.
No,
There's focus guide is on.
You have focus guide and you have zebra. There's two different things.
On.
The zebra is what shows what colors.
Ah, I didn't have it on colored lines. That's why I'm not getting it. Okay.
22.
Colored.
There we go. There's what it looks like.
Now, if you go
Can you
back,
see it?
Look at it now.
Right, so when he's in focus, there it is.
see that's
You can change the color depending on your circumstances. Red's usually the best, but there might be some circumstances which red doesn't work very well. Let's see if anything changed on peaking for me. I'm sorry, on zebra. Still not getting any zebra. So I'm not sure what that's
Camera's
about.
complicated.
Pretty sure I
Oh.
had zebra.
See now, because
before.
I turned off zebra and I'm kind of there's a red on it.
no.
But I've
Is
seen
it,
I've seen it
is
in,
it everywhere though? And where's the red though?
dude,
It's
like,
everywhere because I turned it up all the way.
like the lines is that's.
Bananas,
No.
baby,
But
bananas.
I've also seen it like
See that red?
end up- Yeah, but I've seen it do like a zebra.
Well, yeah, it can be red, but the zebra pattern is like.
Yeah, I've seen
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Well, let's come back to it because I don't think we've solved it yet. Does anybody have zebra? You've got a little bit, you're
We
saying?
have focus.
Oh, it's
assist,
focus.
That's it.
Yeah, that's
Just
it.
focus. I don't have the zebra either, so let's see if we can find something in the settings as we go forward. If you go to the next window, what you're going to see, am I still up there and in focus? Yeah, and again, same things for HDMI and Viewfinder. You're going to find your frame guide, your aspect ratio that you can set for that. 90% is a really good percentage for a safe area guide, but you can change that. The opacity of all these guides that are on the screen and the colors of all these guides that are on the screen. You can also decide on what kind of grid you want. You can have a third, you can have just the horizon, you can have crosshairs in the middle, or you can have just a dot in the center, right? So I think if I turn on third, do I have that turned on? Hold on, let me go back. Frame guide is on, so frame guide, hold on. Grid, okay. So you can see it's got the third grid. And the third grid is applied to the aspect ratio. All right. Okay, moving forward. You've got your ability to brighten or darken your LCD, which obviously is very useful. And that gets us through most of the monitor issues. Let's take a look at audio real quick, because that's going to be one of the next things. You're probably going to see, or at least you can see on mine, that we're getting levels from the internal microphone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You guys are we all on the same page now, or are we still hung back on something?
No, alright, we're all good.
Yeah, we'll come back. We'll figure that zebra out. But let's see if we can find it moving forward. It might be in the setup somewhere. So you have the ability down here to change the levels of your audio. Whoops, hit the wrong button. Right. And you can see right now we're using just the internal mic in the camera. I can't remember. Can you? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's a little bit higher. So you can set levels even with the internal microphone. You've also got the options down here for phantom power if you need that. And you can kind of cycle through. You can change your sources if you want to. You can set it to mono. You can set both to mono if you want to, if you don't have a stereo microphone. Okay. Now, you've got ways to set your VU meters up. I have no idea. I'd leave it at the default, but you do have the ability here to set your headphone volume. And there's a speaker on this camera too, so you can set that speaker volume as well. If we go into setup, set the time and date, right? Here's where we can switch from shutter angle to shutter speed. And if we get out of the menu, we'll now see that we're up here at 1/240th of a second. All right, which I'm going to take back down to where it should be, which is... Oh, wait, I may not be able to go below that because of that high frame rate. The setting on the high frame rate. Yeah. Okay. We'll go back to that then. If you're shooting in North America, you always want to be on 60 hertz. This is a way of syncing up with the frequency of electricity. If you're overseas in Europe, it's 50 hertz. That's why in Europe you shoot at 25 frames per second, and in America we used to shoot at 30, right? Because it was half of the frequency of the electricity. You also have the ability here to change the ND filter from number to stop, which is what I kind of like. So now if we look at ND, it's telling us how many stops up there in the upper left-hand corner. All right, so there's a lot of customization. Some of it may be unnecessary that you can do to this camera. You can also set any function you want to these 3 function buttons up here. And this is where you would do that. So right now F1 is saying it's on false color, so if I push this, I get false color. All right. We don't have these zoom rockers, so we don't need that, any of that. I wouldn't mess with any of this. There are ways to connect Bluetooth devices. I'm not going to get into that. We can take a look at presets really quick.
Why would you need to connect a Bluetooth device?
You could run it remotely. It'd allow you to run it remotely, or it'd also allow you to see what's on the camera wirelessly from a monitor. Could do either one of those. I believe it would do either one of those. If you go into LUTs, you can see that there are some LUTs already loaded in that we can apply, right? Which should at least slightly change what the image looks like, and it did. And you can also upload your own LUTs to, if they're on your card, for example, you can apply them to the camera. Yeah.
Can you set the LUT to a function button? So you can like turn it off and on?
I don't see why you couldn't, but let's see. Let's see. Let's go back to where we were. Set up. All right, let's go function 3. Let's see what our options are here.
I think this says grid.
Let's turn those off.
That's where you can change this.
Display LUT. There it is right there. So, we should now be able to go and turn the LUT on and off there. So yeah, easy peasy. Other questions? What have we not answered about this? What are we
Audio.
missing?
This is a audio bit rate.
Yeah, bit rate. And I did want to check on that. And,
So,
'cause let me take. Have you looked it up?
Yes.
What is it?
24 bit rate.
What the audio
One-
sample
192
levels are.
kilohertz. That's
192 kilohertz?
That's what I found on Google. That's what I
Wow.
found on
Okay,
Google.
that's a pretty good audio recorder.
You listen to you double check me. You double check me. That's what I found.
Is that what the bit rate is?
That's what we're finding. I'm still looking in the actual official.
I look official.
That's damn, bro.
I did.
Yeah.
Funny guys, info from Wikipedia.
So here's the thing we know. We know that it's a decent audio recorder and we should be able to use it and not have any concerns about it. And we have decent inputs for this too. One of the things this camera has, which I think is incredibly valuable, is a mini XLR, which fits right into the side. All right. And then you can hook up your professional microphones here. And since this is a really decent audio recorder in here, you can just use this as your audio recorder. It's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. You also have over here your I think that's your USB, and I said there was an HDMI. Am I wrong?
There's
Yeah. There's where the CFast goes. Where is the HDMI?
under the under here. Is that there? So is that next to
It's right here.
Oh, duh. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. No, I'm not okay. No.
I don't blame you. This is How
old are you again?
Don't be saying none of that.
116.
That's bad. That's HP.
He's gonna put a bad
You'll never work.
Oh no.
All right. Now, you're welcome to take the rest of the time just to play with it if you want to. Ask questions about it. Does that give you think the ability to start to use this and play with it a little bit?
Yeah.
All right.
For the most part.
Okay. All right.
Hold them.
Again, not telling you you have to, but
Hold on.
these are probably the highest quality cameras we have right now. In fact, that probably, yeah, and certainly you're not going to shoot higher resolution with anything else other than this. So now we got to figure out the zebra. I'm going to work on the zebra here for a second.
But it's gonna not be accurate.
Gary, SD card. Yeah, yes. A free one.
An empty.
Oh, we did have it. We did.
I'm turning everything else off.
Angle.
53. We have
Isn't it gonna change based on how big the SD card is?
Say it's
I just want
monkey flashback. I'm gonna say monkey flashback.
You saw movie 2?
What?
Saw movie 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw it early.
Oh! Okay, so I went into the zebra levels here and discovered that not only do you have percentages, you also have like middle gray, which is kind of right where a gray card or halfway between black and white would be perfectly exposed. You can also go middle gray plus one stop, right? And when I did that, I've definitely got zebras going.
Oh shit.
Now the question is, do we still get zebras when we're at percentages? And that's what's really weird, is I'm not getting them. I'm not getting them on the percentages.
Where was the thing for the zebra?
It's under monitor. I think it's like it's the third screen under monitor.
The one where you were able to change, like,
Yeah.
zebra level,
Yeah, so the third screen under monitor, if I set zebra level to middle gray or middle gray +1 or middle gray +2, I get the zebra.
Yeah, you're on.
I do not get it at a percentage, which is really weird.
I'm only getting it on.
That's smart. That's
It really
smart.
wants you to make sure.
That's really smart.
I'm only getting it on middle gray on this camera.
You're not getting it on middle gray +1?
Yeah, not on. It appears when I
Is
go
it
to
bright
20.
enough to?
Maybe
Yeah,
not.
oh, I'm getting a little bit of. Try moving it around. You'll have to. There we go. I feel like that's
It's probably 6 minutes.
6 minutes.
Yeah. that's right. Because
I
because
see
we're
it on
recording
as low as 75 on a single
Yep,
tiny
so
little
we're
area.
recording on, no, we're recording on 5.7. Okay.
Smallest little tiny area.
Let's say Blackmagic Raw. Let's see what happens when we go to Pro.
Yeah, it's still just. It's still just the tiniest
Even
little
less,
area.
wow.
Yeah, I don't see where I'm seeing it anywhere. So,
Let's shift
oh no, I am seeing it a little bit on 75. You're right. On incredibly bright
Yeah,
areas.
incredibly bright, or I think also incredibly.
Is that 23 minutes or
Showing
23
that.
hours?
23 minutes.
So I'll have to do some research on that. I'm not sure. I have to admit that if I'm using zebra, the idea of middle gray +1 I find very appealing.
Target the lights,
Sure.
the whole thing.
Your things, if
What's
it's-
picking up right now is the white part of
How many is it?
the screen inside there, because the room's
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, how much is your
nothing
car?
else here is like
Yeah,
that.
right there.
It's.
The lights are popping up as it. Like
And you can
nothing.
see it on mine if you can see it on the screen.
The only things popping up is pure white or like light, like bright light sources.
What happens to be?
I will say there are some areas on this screen that are too bright for the zebra to show up, which is interesting. Because the table should be completely zebraed right now, and it's not. But if I start to close it down, now the table becomes zebraed. So there may be a threshold.
Configurations. Say, let's say, yep. Blackmagic Raw. Let's see, on the Blackmagic Raw, it says it on 6K, 43 minutes.
I'm not 100% sold on this 3200 ISO either. It seems like I'm getting a little bit of noise in there.
Is it maybe 4,000?
No, that's definitely what it is definitely the 3200. I'm not sure it's,
As good as it's hooked up.
yeah.
This is good, we're-
So the zebra is going to be a mystery till I can figure that part out.
Is there a way to view media?
Your face is glowing. It's all zebra.
And then I zoom in and then.
It may have nothing.
If it makes anybody feel any better, this went a lot better today than it would have on Thursday. So the advantages of using this camera over the other cameras is the resolution. I mean that's and the large sensor size. This is a slightly larger sensor than the Canon has,
I don't think there's anything like.
but only by a tiny fraction. So just be sure and turn in a sheet again today with all your names on it. Feel free to play around if you feel like you're done. If your whole group's done, pack it up. If you're done but your group isn't and you want to leave, you can abandon them to clean up after you.
This is the God knows what can help me out.
I was just kidding, Logan.
Don't lose
I don't know how reliable it is. I'm gonna be able to.
I'd rather just have one.
It's 29, I'm pretty sure.
Whenever I get it,
It's gonna be chaotic.
Hey, do y'all remember what the highest
You're gonna
audio
have to
bit
carry
rate
me
was?
right here.
Highest audio bit
We
rate?
had, what would we have? Bit rate was 24, but we had seen 192
So we got that
kilohertz.
fixed.
So you had new answers.
Was that the one? Is that the one at the bottom? That's the really bad.
For a sample rate.
I got 96 for this.
That makes more sense. 96 for the sample rate and 24 for the bit rate, which
Yeah, megabits.
maybe a little bit.
The other side is the one that's the 192 kilohertz.
I'm trying to. No, that's as good as the Tascam. That's
No,
better
but
than
what's
the.
up?
Yeah, that's better than the Tascam, I think. Yeah.
Doesn't beat the zoom though. I did love it last year. This is a.
So what does the zoom have?
Say 32. Say 32. Say whatever.
32-bit float.
See, yep. This is where you can just
Oy
scream
vey.
in it for like 5 minutes.
Oh, seriously? Yeah, oh, bring that. You gotta bring that in. I gotta see that. Is it one of the new ones then?
Just to say, it's
I
been
want
used.
us to get those and throw away all those Tascams.